Grammy Award-winning artist from Washington State, Brandi Carlile.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains of majesty, above the fruited plain. America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. America, God shed your grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
The Beautiful.
And with her, two musicians from Milwaukee. You know them as Sister Strings. Shanti and Monique Ross got the call about 2 months ago. They would get to perform before billions of people around the world. We connected about 3 hours ago and got a very special Zoom call bomb in the process. How do you settle it all down and actually play when the moment comes?
You know, thankfully there was a lot we ran it a lot a couple of days ago at rehearsal. So we got really comfortable on the field and being able to play it just over and over and over again, getting the shakes out of the way. Yeah. And it just I got excited to play. I was almost like, let's do it 5 more times.
Yeah, and what if I went too fast? We also have a Brandi here if you guys want a Brandi Carlile to say hello.
What's it like to be on that stage that is seen around the world by, a couple billion people at the same time?
It was really overwhelming. It was we were overwhelmed with gratitude. We were all really emotional. Mm-hmm. I think it was even hard at times to hold it together. It just felt important in some way to be representing, marginalized people in our individual way.
Absolutely.
We connected with them over Zoom while they're at the airport all together. Sister Strings flying to Philly right now where they're going to start their nationwide tour.
Wow, they are in demand.
They
Wonderful.
All right, family. Welcome. Good morning. It is Michelle Bryant here at WNOV, 860 AM, 106.5 FM. You are listening to Say Something Real and Real Talk. I don't watch the Super Bowl, but I'm proud of them sisters who ended up performing at the Super Bowl, Sister Strings. Let me say good morning to the brothers in the studio, and we'll take a minute and talk about the Wisconsin presence at the Super Bowl. What up, Mr. Ryder? How you doing this morning, sir? Every time there's an opportunity to talk about Sister Strings, I look to you. I've had the pleasure of seeing them several times in intimate settings at a church, performing during Black History Month, to bigger venues, bigger stages, and this had to be the stage of all stages. And so if folks, are like, wait a minute, Michelle, because some people are listening, not watching on Facebook, so you didn't see them in the clip that we played, but the two sisters playing behind Brandi Carlile are the two African-American women. They're from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. From the and so these sisters' names,
Monique and Shanti.
Yes. So let me just get it out the way, though. I'm gonna say good morning to Clark, then we'll circle back. Hey, Clark. What you, bro? What you? Look, everybody that's checking in on both Facebook, YouTube, and via text. Good morning, family. Good morning to all my sisters that's checking in. Jay, let's just come back for a second though, because they said they got the call a couple of months ago, but this had to be a big deal as a musician, and somebody from the city getting to see folks from home. What was that like?
Well, I'm gonna tell you this. I started playing with Sister Strings when they was at World Outreach.
At the church.
At the church. They was young. I mean, young. And I'm listening to them. Now, nobody knew them in the music scene on this side.
Okay.
So they was just playing in church and doing recitals.
Mm.
So they was like, man, we want to play out. So I was like, listen, I'm gonna bring y'all to my event. I'm gonna have y'all play with me. So it was the Battle of the Band. It was called the Band Bazaar with Mr. J.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I got a picture that I'm gonna go through my phone and find it that they was playing with me. And so when I brought them out and we smacked everybody around, you got a string section, you got horns, you got a percussion section. Like I went all out. So
okay. Right. I mean, who's expecting to see this?
Like,
at Mr. J's.
Yeah, so like, wait a minute, you got a black girl on cello and the girl on violin? Like, yeah. So with that one particular show, everybody started reaching out to it.
They are fabulous.
So they started playing with people and made introductions to other musicians in the city. And when I saw them, well, I knew they was on tour with Brandy, but when I saw them at the Super Bowl, I was like, man, that's my year. When I saw them at the Super Bowl, I was like, yeah.
No, I just, like I said, I blown away to hear about it. And just super proud. Like I said, I've seen these sisters perform. I've kind of watched their career blossom as well. Also got to give big love, shout out to an 11-year-old, a little boy by the name of Jay Ramos Rivera. He posted on social media on Sunday morning that he was going to be joining Bad Bunny. And this is what he put out, quote, "For my family, for my roots, for everyone from the island who paved the way so people like me could dream bigger, proud of who I am and where I come from." And that's what he had posted, and he ended up being one of the dancers that was with Bad Bunny during the Super Bowl halftime show. So, you think about like the odds of an 11-year-old kid out of Waukesha on a world stage like the Super Bowl, sisters right here from the hood, right here from the Milwaukee area, for everything people want to have to say about who we are, what we're capable of, what our talents and abilities are, what things we should do, what we'll be good at. You have people breaking barriers every day. So I am so enamored and proud of the way we showed up and the diversity, because you think Wisconsin and Wisconsin's at the Super Bowl, and you don't think of two young Black girls with braids in their hair. You don't think of the Hispanic young man, Puerto Rican young brother, coming from Waukesha to represent. And so it is the thing that everybody was trying to stress as they talked about the need to appreciate diversity. And the fact that you have a whole segment of this country that's trying to make diversity a bad thing. I'm going to talk about later in the show today that at FAMU, Historically Black College and University, it's Black History Month. Their student groups are trying to put together their Black History Month program, and the damn school don't want them to use the word Black in Black History Month. They don't want the word Black on the flyers and the posters. This is a historically Black college and university who are being told, because of the Trump administration, for all you Negroes that support Donald Trump, because of the Trump administration's basically outlawing anything to do with diversity, equity, and inclusion, that if these schools want to stay in compliance and continue to get the assistance and the funding that they get from the federal government, you can't damn say the word black in Black History Month celebration. So it is so appreciative that what was done because I went back and I watched the performance on YouTube because I wanted to be able to see, what Bad Bunny had done, what everything looked like, so I could have a degree of some intelligence about talking about it this morning. But it just grated me that there's an alternate Super Bowl programming done based on nothing but damn racism. On nothing but racism. Kid Rock, who done had a whole bunch of black fans over the course, and people of all colors over the course of his career. Now you just a damn poster boy for white boy racism. And now it's Bible thumping, and I'm like, boy, you one of the wildest, raggediest cats that ever been in the music industry. Now all of a sudden you Mr. Jesus, and you helping to promote this agenda of exclusion and dissing other people based on their skin color, based on the language differences. It's like madness. That's why I was happy to hear he's doing a tour, Rock the Nation or Rock the Country or some mess, coming up to the 250th anniversary of the country's founding. And artists have been, not enough, but artists have been dropping off his tour. Yes. So some are canceled, not all of the dates. I heard that like some of the smaller towns still have the show going right now, but I know like in South Carolina, that show that whole leg got canceled. Everything he was doing in South Carolina. But they're saying right now, and people are putting pressure on some of these other bands that still talk about they're gonna perform with him. Like, no, if that's what you're doing, we need to be out. So,
and also too, just because they might mention Jesus or mention God, that don't mean that they're God.
Oh no, you use it. Yeah, we see people misuse it all the time.
Yeah, because I just happened to turn on because I wanted to see.
Yeah, a lot of people went to go check it out to see what they was doing.
And I forgot the guy's name, but he was talking about pumping his shotgun and shooting at something. And matter of fact, I got the video. I showed you. And he said something about that his daddy told if anybody swing at you, whatever, whoop they ate. And I'm like,
just ignorant. None of it. The whole exclusion of race, of diversity, and trying to block people out because they speak a foreign language. None of that had nothing to do with the Bible. None of that had nothing to do with the Bible. This is all people cloaking themselves in the Bible and using it to advance their own personal BS agenda. Yeah, definitely. And and so you just really like my frustration level was through the roof. I'll just have to say that, and then again, the other part of it, this is a game where 70% of the players is black. Let that sit. And then white folks, not all obviously, but oh no, this is not an American performance and blah, blah, blah. And we want to hear somebody white sing. I'm like, do you know how many Super Bowls we sat through? And we didn't see no performance of color. Do you know how many Super Bowls we had to sit through? For the last 10 years, there's been a super hard push. Somebody said, what is wrong with Jermaine's mic? We can't hear him on YouTube. So I'm not sure what's going on, but that's the second message I got flagging that. So we'll figure out what's happening. Somebody said Kid Rock quiet as it kept is half black. I'm gonna tell you the way he used to, everybody who he used to run with, I couldn't tell that he wasn't. So I'm just gonna leave that piece lay for a minute. But my utter frustration at what we have seen in relationship to this, I'll get into because I got Mark Thompson coming in for the Scales of Justice this morning, so I'll save it until after that portion of the show. But to talk about some of the messaging, some of the things that Bad Bunny did as a part of being, quite frankly, political about the way he chose to do his show. But I'm going to tell y'all know what I was on. Y'all know what I was on. I don't watch, period. I do not watch. And I want to play a clip real quick, Jay, Am I okay? All right, hang on. Let's play this.
Your soul at the Super Bowl. What a sight it would be if both teams took a knee. Take away their fun before they shoot your son. You see, what's happening right now is an unspeakable crime. Be the peacemakers of our time. You want a standing ovation? Take a knee for the next generation. Check your soul. Check your soul at the Super Bowl.
So that was none other than the incomparable Jennifer Lewis. And I want to thank David for flagging that for me. He sent it to me. I said I was so mad. I wish I had saw it earlier in the day because I definitely would have had it posted. I'm sorry. Well, I'm not sorry. Let me not say it like that. I just still can't. I can't get behind the game. I can't get behind the activities. I just refuse to be a part of something that so blatantly is racist, quite frankly, on a lot of levels to people of color and Black men in particular. I think they just said we just saw like 10 head coaching jobs get filled, no brothers. I don't even know what the rule that they have about interviewing two, and now brothers are beginning to complain. It's just a cyclical thing that they do, but you don't really have a shot at the job. I still, stay pissed on Shedeur Sanders. I still stay frustrated on, the way Colin Kaepernick was done. There are so many things that these owners do with these teams, how they have boxed out Black folks from being at the ownership table, their alignment with Donald Trump. I just can't do it. I'm just not going to be able to do it. And until I see some real things happening, and I don't mean a halftime show, I'm looking, and I know that people have said, well, Michelle, we've gotten a few more coaches. We've gotten this. Yeah, but when I look at the representation of who makes up that league, I'm still looking for more. And I'm just not a person that forgets easily either. I just don't. Let me say this real quick. Talking about not forgetting. I don't know how many of y'all saw the little story on Netflix and the mess that they pulled. A lot of us have Netflix subscriptions, and Michelle Obama has a documentary, Becoming, and it's been on Netflix. During the week that last weekend when Melania's movie debuted in theaters, and let's be clear, there was nothing about Melania's 20-day journey that needed to be made into a damn movie. Yet alone spent $75 million, giving her $28 million to make it happen. All of this is a money grab for the Trump family. All of it. Jeff Bezos, who owns Amazon and the Washington Post, just messing up stuff everywhere he goes. All of this is just a money grab. But what Netflix decided to do, because there were people that said, hey, y'all, let's make Michelle Obama's Becoming #1 on Netflix this weekend up against Melania Trump. Some individual put that out. I posted it. I sent it to my friends. If you haven't watched it yet, y'all watch Becoming this weekend. And what happened is that it ends up like going back up to the charts. So at one point, it reaches #6 in the top 10 most watched shows on Netflix. Everybody saw it because you can see where Netflix will tell you what's in the top 10 that weekend when you're tuning in. And Michelle Obama's documentary was in the top 10. So what did Netflix do? They pulled it off the air. They pulled it off the air. And then they reclassified the fact that she was in the top 10 as, oh, she was in the top 10 in the kids category. It's not a kids documentary, but they reclassified it and said she was in the kids category. So social media users, when I tell y'all people showed up and they was like, mess around and find out, you better get it back up right now. Those is the kind of messages that people all over the nation were posting. It better be back up. And it better be back up today. You better correct this right now. Like, people were so mad. But this is Jeff Bezos, who cozies up to Donald Trump, and they play their silly games. So it was a number of black folks that already started canceling their Netflix subscription. Oh, you want to play politics? You want to play politics? Well, then I can play with my money. This is the same thing for me with the Super Bowl, with Target, with any number of these situations that we find ourselves in. When we appreciate the power of our dollar, because Jeff Bezos is not Jeff Bezos without money. And who contributes a bunch of that money? Black folks. We've already said the biggest consumer spending demographic in the country is Black people. We spend more money than anybody on products, goods, and services. Black folks. If you want change, keep your money in your pocket. Spend your money somewhere else. Be deliberate in the choices that you make. People treat us how we let them treat us. And when we show people we are not playing, think about how much money you would have if you just started pulling back money. The kind of money we spend every day. Just think about it. And so I wanted to flag that for people, because if folks didn't appreciate it, that's what happened. They literally snatched Michelle Obama's documentary off Netflix because it was doing too well in the numbers. And they wanted to be able to tell a story about Melania Trump's opening weekend, which if it wasn't for old white ladies, it wouldn't have been no damn opening weekend. Because that's what they said, that it was the 45 and up demographic of white women that made her have any sales at all. This is not a documentary that is reaching across, races, demographics, socioeconomic statuses. It is very much, think about the fact that a movie premiere is racialized. Do y'all even see Melania Trump doing any damn first lady duties? What does she do? I don't even know what she do. And then you make a documentary about her picking out her damn outfits. Like, what is this? And on my rose garden that your husband promptly paved over. I brought back Jackie O's rose garden only for your man to tear it up. Let me go to the phone line real quick, and then I got to take a break. Hey, caller, what's happening?
Good morning, Michelle.
Hey, Angela, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. God is good.
Good.
Thanking him for waking me up this morning. But Michelle, listen, the reason why I'm calling, I went to a workshop at Way of the Cross Saturday.
Okay.
And a gentleman heard my voice. He said, say something again. So I did. He said, your name Angela. He said, what's your name? I said, Angela. He said, you call into WNOV every morning. I said, yes, I do. He said, I hear your voice, he said, and I recognize it as soon as you said something the second time. His name is not the first George. His name is George.
Okay.
He calls mostly on Chief's show.
Okay.
But then I met his mother-in-law, who I forgot her name, but she carries weight in Milwaukee, so I'm gonna get her name again. I said, 'cause if anything happens, I know who to call. I can call on her. like Gwen Moore, she up in that status.
Okay.
So, but anyway, I met him, and then I met another gentleman that was doing the workshop, because I went to the computer workshop, and his name is Mr. Rogers. Him and his wife, I met them also at Way of the Cross. I met a lot of nice people just know me by my voice, and I just like to say hello to them. Good morning, Mr. Rogers, and good morning, George. George number 2, that's what he called himself, because he calls on Chief Show.
Okay.
But yeah. But
Good
you
deal.
guys, good morning to you all. Good morning, right out. Tell Debo I need to see him by 3 o'clock so I can get that cookie sheet back. Because my niece got to turn it in today.
All right, he's listening.
All right, so I'll see you guys later.
All right, take care, Angela.
Yep, y'all have a good day.
You too now. Bye-bye. Look at Angela said, y'all see that star status? All right, family, I got to take a break. Somebody texted me and said, did they put it back up? Yes, they put it back up. But yeah, I just was looking real quick. That in the recent days, they had put Michelle Obama's documentary as number 4 in U.S. Kids top 10. And they know they was on some nonsense. So yes, they did put it back up. I was just trying to see one other thing. It was in some other stats about it. But just the fact that Netflix would do this, because you're in the business of making money. And if you have a documentary that's trending in the top 10, why on earth would you take it down? Because Jeff Bezos is getting ready to play these silly games with Donald Trump. All right, y'all, I got to take a break. I'll be right back. Michelle Bryant, WNOV. Yeah, it's going to be a whole bunch of real stuff get said this morning. We'll be right back. All right, family, welcome back to the show. It is Michelle Bryan here, WNOV, 860 AM, 106.5 FM. You are listening to Say Something Real. This is the time of the month that we are fortunate enough to have our segment, Scales of Justice, with attorney Mark Thompson, who has joined us in the studio. Hey, Mark, how are you this morning?
Good morning, Michelle. I survived last night. The halftime show was really beautiful, and my grandkids were dancing around the TV room, so it was quite a scene. But good morning. It's sunny here.
It is. Good morning. You know, for folks that are regulars to the show, you are familiar with Attorney Thompson. Our conversations can range from everything from, know your rights discussions, talking about high profile cases that appear both locally and nationally. And today is no different. One of the things that we will be flagging and discussing this morning is recent frustration with the Milwaukee Police Association regarding the settlement of cases or the way the current city attorney's office is responding to cases of officer misconduct, and how some of these cases are either being decided, reheard, the jury pool that is being brought forward. So, Mark, if you could do me a favor, set this conversation up for our listeners who are like, wait, what are we talking about this morning, Michelle?
Yeah, it's sort of personal to me in this sense. My law firm, Gingras Thompson and Wachs, day in, day out, we represent injured people. People get hurt, car crashes, drunk drivers, medical malpractice. But unlike a lot of, my friendly competitors, we handle a significant number of civil rights cases.
Okay.
And the Milwaukee Police Association, because this is very, very political in this sense, the Milwaukee Police Association cut a deal a few years ago with the far right Republicans, and threatened the city. They fought the city on residency, and so that didn't play well. They fought the city on the ability to pay and quality and watch quality, right? And
explain what you mean by that, though.
Well, I mean, put it this way. I was a steel worker union rep way before I became a lawyer. Now, this is a long, long, long time ago, right? Last century, young people will say, like, who cares about that? But, when I was a union rep, the goal was to provide representation for the people that you work with, and not just the people that screwed up, right? Your job was to represent people, fair wages, make sure we had good contracts. Also, part of it was if someone got in trouble and disciplined, your job was to stand in, right? But there were times when, as a union rep, for example, I knew one guy came on the job driving a huge piece of equipment, was drunk, almost killed a couple of people. I knew them all, right? And he came in and he got 5 days off. I mean, he's lucky to have his job.
Right.
And he says, Mark, file a grievance. I said, for what? I said, I helped you keep your job. We're not fighting. You can't show up drunk and try to kill people. And so I've always had this view that unions have to represent the best, right? And fight for the best. And so then we have here on January 30th, 2026, the Milwaukee Police Association sends out a letter. They sent it out. They copied it to the mayor and all the city council members, blasting the city attorney for how the city attorney handled a couple of cases. And their main attack is that the city attorney's office, in quotes, fail adequately to prepare, defend, or litigate matters involving law enforcement. And they say that the settlement of these cases inflicts, in quotes, immeasurable reputational harm on the Milwaukee Police Department and the hardworking officers involved. And I was just really outraged, and personally so, because two of the cases they talked about were cases that I had the honor of representing the families in civil rights cases. And the city ended up paying, in one, the estate of Thomas case, $2.5 million. And that is one of the cases that they were really outraged about. And they were outraged. They said it was a very defensible case, and the city attorney should have removed it to federal court and, gone to a jury, because a jury would never have awarded $2.5 million.
The language that they say, move it to federal court where a more favorable jury pool exists.
There you go. Now, thank you for highlighting that, because I was going to get there. So let's talk about what happened to Mr. Thomas before we get to that question, right? So he is arrested and put in the jail, District 5. Officers knew he had ingested drugs. And federal law and city policy requires that if you know someone ingests drugs, that is a serious medical condition, and you have to get them to the hospital. And that's because if you're arrested, you can't get yourself to the hospital, right?
Right.
That's just the law. And
this young man, for many people that try to think about, this sounds vaguely familiar, the story of Keyshawn, what was Keyshawn's last name? Thomas. Keyshawn Thomas, who had been arrested, 21 years old, arrested on the morning of February 23rd, 2022. Police took him to the District 5 Police Department. And they said that he told police during booking that he had ingested cocaine, marijuana, and ecstasy, and began to dry heave and sweat, according to the complaint. So here, we worked with the DA's office. Oh, wait, can I say this?
Yeah.
The police officer said he'd call an ambulance, but never did. Instead, he placed Keyshawn Thomas in a cell. So I just want to say that too, because you've been told,
right,
and you acknowledge you didn't call anybody.
16 hours later, he was dead. And so the first thing we did was we worked with the district attorney's office on the criminal investigation and charges. 2 officers were charged with felonies, right? They cut deals, but it was criminal conduct, and that criminal conduct ended up in the death of Keyshawn.
Right.
So after we worked through the criminal system, we used the evidence that we obtained in that criminal investigation, along with one of the officers that was in the case had been charged, but never knew about the fact that Keyshawn had eaten these drugs. But we got an affidavit from that officer and attached it to our complaint. And I just want to let everybody know, because this is know your rights, okay? Pursuant to section 90.45 of the standard operating procedures on prisoners and booking, the booking officers are responsible for the supervision of all prisoners while held in a municipal lockup facility, which includes the safety and well-being of prisoners during the booker's tour of duty. So the booker in this case said he was going to take Keyshawn to the hospital, told other officers and didn't, and got charged with a felony for that.
Right.
He pled guilty. He cut a deal. I think he was guilty, or I don't remember the end, but it was criminal conduct. It is the responsibility of the booking officer to perform the inmate medical intake screening. During the medical screening, if an inmate responds yes to any of these questions about ingesting, you have to get them to a hospital. That's the federal law. Federal law, and this policy is consistent with the federal law. That was ignored. Keyshawn is dead, his children without a father. That's why we filed the lawsuit. Now, we filed a lawsuit with all of this evidence attached to the complaint, right? From day one, the city knew its officers had been engaged in criminal conduct, violated policy, resulting in the death. And the Milwaukee Police Association saying that pain for this children brings reputational harm to the officers. Give me a break, right? Every officer that does their job should be outraged because it's the criminal conduct that stains the reputation of good officers. And let's get clear here. When the MPA says their criticism is, let's take it out in federal court with a different jury pool, let's know what that code word is for, okay? I file civil rights cases like this in the county of Milwaukee because I think jurors from Milwaukee County should be the ones deciding the cases of Milwaukee police officers.
Right.
Okay, and what does that mean? It means that there are African Americans on the jury pool. Okay, where justice is, because you were talking about race. Okay, for years, Grant Langley, and I had many cases with them. Their policy was they removed every civil rights case to federal court because they wanted to increase their odds of getting white racist jurors to decide the case. Okay, that's unconscionable. It's unconscionable. So when the Milwaukee Police Association union says, yo, we can engage in criminal conduct and we can violate policies, but you should take the case out and defend it, because it's not defending it on whether they were criminal.
Right.
It was, they're hoping there's some folks on the jury that don't care about black kids without a parent.
Exactly.
Now, what kicked this off, I wanted to be here, right? Where is the reform movement in the Milwaukee Police Association? When I was a steel worker, I was part of a reform movement against a corrupt bureaucracy. Okay, there used to be some folks, Liga Martin. So I'm here like, wake up, all you good MPA officers. You need a reform movement in this union to line with the people and not. Look at, they lined up with Tiffany.
This is years though. This is in this
hello,
letter,
isn't it about time? I mean,
in this
it
letter,
is time
they
for a
go
change.
back and identify Isaiah Taylor's case in this letter.
Okay, we'll get there in 1 second too. It's time for a change, right? So let's talk about Isaiah. Right, Isaiah from day one is stopped by two white officers that don't live. They live in Caledonia. They don't live in Milwaukee, right? During the depositions, I talked to them, right? They said they've seen kids run in their neighborhood. They've never seen, right? Police just arresting white kids for running. Okay, so let's, Isaiah is running a turkey over to his neighbor for Christmas. they make the decision before they stop him. They want to run a warrants check. They stop him. They look in the bag. It's a turkey. They still put him in the squad car, arrest him, and run a warrants check. It's outrageous. The city defends it. They get a lucky break with the magistrate judge who says qualified immunity. We go to the Seventh Circuit and we win that case. And we've talked about this before, but let me say again. The Seventh Circuit said, this is the law, folks, and this is your rights. Even 1 second of continued detention after an unlawful stop is too long.
And wait, when you say even 1 second, and in their letter, the MPA says Mr. Taylor was detained for a mere 20 minutes.
Hello. So listen, if you are representing police officers, part of that is that you have to represent them in their capacity that they follow the law. The law, federal law, is 1 second is too long, folks. 1 second is too long. Right? You have an absolute constitutional right to walk around, do your business, and a police officer that doesn't have reasonable suspicion of a crime or probable cause can't keep you for even 1 second. So the MPA is outraged that the city pays $350,000. What they don't talk about is that it was 4 or 5 years, and we went to the Court of Appeals. The attorney's fees were significant.
Yeah.
And the city attorney read the court decision and said, look, we should end this case now, because frankly, it should have never existed.
I mean, the fact that you knew he was carrying a turkey. So why are we still talking to this young man? Why does it, and you seat him in the back of a car, and he's like, my mom is right there in the house, and then you realize he's a minor, he's a child. And you're running all of his information. But this is my thing. And when you talk about like, where are the good officers? My frustration with the Milwaukee police, many of the Milwaukee police officers and associations and the union, they never have anything to say when it is confirmed that their officers have done something wrong. They never have anything to say. I go back, one of the things that will forever stay with me, counteract sentencing phone. This is a naked child in the street, bleeding from the buttocks. And you happen upon this young man, and Jeffrey Dahmer catches up to him, and you let Jeffrey Dahmer walk away with a nude child bleeding from the buttocks. One of those officers ends up rising through the ranks in the department. And it was nothing other than homophobia and racism because of the race of counteract sentencing phone and the race of the white guy who's standing there saying, oh, we're fine. Lovers, quarrel. And you let this child go back to them. So there is, if we talk about the beating of Frank Jude, you can go time after time. I went back and I pulled the data. Milwaukee police recorded 2,285 use of force incidents in 2023, 952 involving physical force or weapons, marking a high for the department. 850 civilian misconduct complaints were filed from 2016 to 2021, with 14% ruled in favor of civilians, while over 100 officers appeared on what they called a Brady list for credibility issues. At least 93 officers were disciplined for violating laws, representing roughly 5% of the force. A 2025 report indicated nearly half of 191 officer Brady lists in the country, which includes many Milwaukee MPD officers, involved conduct like lying, domestic violence. So when you have, the police union chief talking about our credibility, you already got credibility issues. And the percentage of you that actually get held accountable for this is so minuscule. So this letter blows me away.
So I'm glad you're blown away. The community really needs to look at this and weigh in. And frankly, the MPA needs a reform movement in its ranks to say, look at officers deserve respect, but they're only going to get respect if they respect everybody's rights, right? So it's, in my mind, it's always been about constitutional policing, right? What does that mean, right? It means you do not stop a young black kid running, carrying a bag just to run a warrants check, okay? That doesn't happen to my kid, right? Doesn't happen to my kid. And you can't, live outside the city, then come into the city and act like you're occupying. You can't. We have to have mutuality. And let me remind everybody, let me just say,
Go ahead.
Chief Jeffrey Norman signed standard operating procedures, right? The first one, 001, fair and impartial policing. This is the policy that was adopted as part of the resolution of the Sterling Brown case, right? The work of our police members has a substantial and positive effect on crime and helps us pursue our mission of creating neighborhoods capable of sustaining civic life. MPD recognizes that unlawful violence and racism, especially if perpetrated by police officers, as well as crime, disproportionately impact neighborhoods, communities of color, and that police tactics can at times be perceived as frightening or alienating. To that end, this policy is intended to establish this department's commitment to combat racist and discriminatory practices and to clarify the circumstances in which officers can consider race. Now, we have in place the policy that creates a basis for training and mutual cooperation and success. The president of the MPA and the MPA, they take a position that is promoting racist practices, that defends officers engaged in unlawful conduct. And let me say, engaged in criminal conduct. They turn the world upside down. And we have to ask, what's the purpose? Right? What is the purpose? Certainly it's not for justice.
All right, look. So Mark, we are up against the clock here.
I have to say one thing.
Yeah, and I was going
one thing, just one thing.
Go ahead.
Folks, if you're injured, you got questions, call Gingras Thompson and Walks, 414-837-4167. Call the station, they got our number. Appreciate you listening. Michelle, it's a pleasure always to be here with you. Thank you.
No, thank you. And I'm glad you gave the contact information. But for folks that have heard our conversation this morning and are frustrated, you're not members of the MPA. And I just went and pulled the data real quick. This is from 2023. But the demographic makeup of the Milwaukee Police Department in 2023, predominantly white, 68.6%. 13% black, 9%, almost 10% that identifies two or more races, 83% male, nearly 12% female. So, when we talk about like, where are the folks who will speak up? One of the things that we run into consistently is folks saying, because of the way this department is even made up demographically, it's hard for people to speak up because I got to go out on the streets with these people and they got to have my back in the midst of our day-to-day routine. For lay citizens that are paying attention to this, just last comment, as everyday people, me, you, observers, recommendations for us to help address this situation, since it's not being addressed from within to the extent that we need it. I mean, is this a Fire and Police Commission conversation? Where do private citizens go?
I think when it comes to policing, we need decent police officers. And my experience is that most are to speak up. It's sort of like the problem we have right now in the country,
Right.
frankly. I've said this, Trump is a white people's problem,
Right.
right? It's this racist stuff, including his most recent, trope with
The Obamas.
the Obama. I mean, it's outrageous, right? So it has to start with saying, look, we're not going to do it anymore, right? We have to concern ourselves with human beings first and foremost. And then that's why I said from a union point of view, start a reform movement, guys. And I say guys because it is mainly guys. But don't hang around with an MPA that is promoting hate, lies, and deceit. It's not gonna help you on the street, right?
No.
There's got to be trust.
All right. With that, we are going to end this segment. Mark, as usual, I appreciate what you bring by way of conversation and information and education, quite frankly, as we talk about these issues. Remind people one more time how they can reach out to you if they need help or have a case that may look, I caught him off guard.
Folks, you can go to the internet, gtwlawyers.com. My firm is Gingras Thompson and Wax, 414-837-4167. This is what I say. I hope you never need me, because that means something bad happened. And I never wish that anybody. But if it happens, call us. We're proud to represent you.
All right, folks, I got to go to break, but I just want to say there are a lot of people that will not take these cases. They shy away from them, consider them an uphill battle. And I'm just really thankful that we have a resource that we're able to share with the community, that folks will take your cases seriously when you call. All right, I'll be right back. Michelle Bryant, WNOV, 860 AM, 106.5 FM. Be right back. Hey, family, welcome back to the show. So I want to thank Attorney Mark Thompson. The conversation regarding this letter from the Milwaukee Police Association that was sent to Common Council members. And let me see who all they CC'd the mayor's office and the common council members because they worried about the reputation of the Milwaukee Police Department. You know, if you actually would talk to your staff, your officers, and of course we know this is not all officers, but the ones that do stuff to put y'all in harm's way, because I don't care if somebody told you that they had ingested all of these drugs. I don't care what kind of person they were. I don't care what they had done. You have a mandated responsibility to make sure that that person got medical treatment. You showed indifference. Your officers ignored it, and they let that boy die in his cell. So end the story. And then for, the MPA to be saying, well, we should have been able to go to the federal level and find a friendlier jury. No, do the right damn thing. How about that? How about that? Isaiah Taylor was held for a mere 20 minutes. 20 minutes of my freedom is 1 minute too long when you knew that the child had a turkey. This is the thing that irritates me. So you don't want to accept responsibility for your behavior. But I want people to be broader and think even wider than this, okay? This is also connected to the upcoming governor's race. Why do I say that? Because number one, Evan Goyke is a Democrat, okay? And everybody knows the work he did not everybody knows, but Evan did a lot of work when he was at the state level as a state representative around corrections, around, law enforcement, just the whole judicial system. He's a lawyer. I mean, obviously he's a lawyer, but he is somebody that had more progressive leaning tactics when it came to the judicial system. Okay. So that's number one. He's going to be at odds with the Milwaukee Police Union simply because he's a Democrat. That's number one. But the MPA is going to be supporting Tom Tiffany in the upcoming gubernatorial election. And so they have to go out of their way to be able to paint law enforcement, to paint support for law enforcement in a particular type of vein. And Tom Tiffany, who's coming out talking about working with ICE and what he wants to do to support the police, blah, blah, blah. A lot of this is political in nature. And so if you think about the fact that Goyke worked with all those other Democrats on the other side of the aisle that are running for the governor's race in some capacity, some way, shape, or form, these are people that may, not rein in a city attorney, even though the city attorney is elected in their own right. This is somebody who may not back up the MPA. So make no mistake that the timing of all of this is also political because they've had tons of allegations made against them. And I'm going to just tell you, I need common council members to be a little bit more savvy, as well. And let me tell you why. Because I've been sitting on this story. I haven't had time to really talk about it. But let me take a second since Mark Thompson came in and opened this little can of worms. Back in 2025, the city of Milwaukee had to pay out $7 million for a wrongful conviction, okay? So there's a guy, his name is Danny Wilbur, 44 years old. He is Afro-Indigenous, so he's part Black, part Native American or Indigenous. And he's enrolled in the Oneida Nation of Wisconsin. And he fought for post-conviction relief after spending nearly 18 years in a Wisconsin prison for first-degree intentional homicide, a crime he was able to prove he didn't commit. A federal judge granted his petition for habeas corpus, and he was released from prison on December 22nd, 2021, pending the state's appeal, with this case being dismissed on May 27th, 2022. His claim for wrongful conviction was denied by the Wisconsin Claims Board in July 2024, but his federal civil rights claim was settled by the Milwaukee Common Council on May 13, 2025 for $7 million, the second largest in Milwaukee's history. Okay, so let's just take a second and talk about this man's case. Excuse me, Jack, can you close that door for me? This is what the gentleman alleges. The Milwaukee Police Department knew Danny Wilbur was innocent, and they framed him anyway, said the lawyer. The Wisconsin Attorney General's office had physical evidence proving his innocence, and still spent years fighting to keep him in a cage. This wasn't a failure of justice. It was a full-scale intentional cover-up. Wilbur was convicted in 2005 for first-degree intentional murder of 24-year-old David Diaz at a house party on Mineral Street on Milwaukee's South Side. He was sentenced to life in prison with a chance for parole after 40 years. He appealed his conviction with the help of an appellate attorney. He asked for a new trial and raised three separate issues, including that physical evidence of destroyed clothing and shoes, which could not have fit him, was admitted to the court. So they destroyed the clothes and shoes. But had anybody looked at them, they would have known that these clothes and shoes that supposedly the killer had on could not have fit this man. He was visibly shackled during the closing arguments in front of a jury. So they're not supposed to let the jury see somebody shackled at the wrist in the courtroom, or whatever way to help in the, images become reality for people. You already convicted. We already see you in the shackles. So that was problematic. And the state was never able to prove its theory that this man fired the fatal shots that left Diaz dead at the scene. So the appeal was denied. And the Wisconsin Court of Appeals upheld his conviction in 2008. After his appeal was denied, he filed on his own. This guy, this man who's been convicted, he filed it pro se in 2010 for a writ of habeas corpus in federal court, challenging the state's jurisdiction to keep him incarcerated. He sent his initial petition while in solitary confinement and was unsure if he had the funds on his commissary account to even afford a postage stamp. His message, however, got through, and his motion to the court to stay his petition was successful. And one of the things that they say is, had he done it just a few days later, he would have missed the 1 year deadline to file, and this never could have been corrected. So he is able, from solitary confinement, to write up his own petition. Don't know if he even got the 70 cent or however much a stamp was. Well, I don't know back then, 50 cents, 60 cents. He don't even know if he got that much money on his books. But all these things line up. He's able to do that. And his habeas corpus petition asks the federal courts for relief, stating that his constitutional rights were violated in numerous ways. And bottom line, at some point, I won't go through all of it, the court agrees with this man. So he then is now in the, okay, you've been released, and the state decides not to pursue charges against him again. He goes at the state level, the fund that's set up for people that have been wrongly incarcerated. We have capped it in Wisconsin at $5,000 per year, up to 5 years. So you could have been wrongfully convicted and been in jail for 25 years, and the maximum amount of money you can get from the state of Wisconsin is $25,000, because they will only give you $5,000 for 5 years. It is straight madness that you can ruin somebody's life in that way and not be held financially accountable. But because he then took it to the federal level, and he was able to say, hey, I'm going to go after all these other charges, so you at least got some, other this other avenue, you at least got some different ways that you can try to fight this. So Wisconsin denies him because they basically said you weren't found innocent. You're out on a technicality. Okay. And I gotta take a break. I got a call. Okay. Okay, give me 1 second. And so what he is able to do is on May 8th, the city of Milwaukee's Judiciary and Legislation Committee recommended approving that he get a settlement of $6,960,000 plus attorney's fees. But before they did, I just want to call out Alderman Mark Chambers, who stood up and said at this committee hearing, and I quote, "I have to get this on the record because this is extremely frustrating. And I just got to say that this is bullshit that we are sitting here essentially approving a $7.2 million settlement, including attorney's fees, lawsuit on something that was not overturned due to the city's fault. The police, Mr. Chambers, the police made the initial mistakes. Had the man never been arrested in the first place, the city wouldn't be in this situation, Mr. Chambers. All of the black people that get handled crazy by the Milwaukee Police Department, hurt, killed, framed, beat up, left to die in a cell after they tell you somebody has ingested drugs and you stood your black up to defend paying a settlement. The Common Council sat quietly while Lena was trying to argue my baby had a turkey in a bag. And the police knew he had a turkey when they put him in the back of that squad car. And y'all said nothing. All these damn black people on the Common Council, and you say nothing because your job is always, it seems like, lining up to defend the damn police even when they wrong. So the fact that Alderman Chambers stood up on his high horse and said, this is bullshit. We shouldn't be paying. The city didn't do nothing wrong. Yes, the hell you did. You did something wrong when they didn't make the case, when the man was arrested, and people all was complicit in framing that man. If they thought they had a real case, they would have brought them charges back. The idea that the brother stands up to say this is bullshit. The idea. You know how many cases, this was an O.J. Simpson moment. You know how many black men have been wrongfully arrested, incarcerated, in some cases put to death on death row because of white officers and they BS? So you want to die on the hill and on the sword about this settlement. The number of black people that ain't never been paid, have never been treated fairly in this system. And you got Alderman Chambers standing up. I need to go on the record and say this is some bull. The city didn't do nothing. Your officers did something, bruh. Let me take a break. I'll be right back. All right, family, welcome back to the show. Do we have a caller? We good? Okay, let me go to the phone line. Hey, caller, what's happening?
Hey, good morning to you. That Mark Chambers fella is really a bad pretty cat. That's that whole little Bayview clique. You got Mark Chambers, you got Cavalier Johnson, and you got Crowley. All of them is Bayview students, man. At the same time. Matter of fact, that Mark Chambers fella, he's a bad pretty cat. He's trying to fit in with them other boys that's been tapped by big money people. So, I would expect him to stand up and do that. But that's not why I called. You just brought it up while I was on hold. And I said, well, I'll make mention of that. That's a little Bayview clique right there. All three of them people. As a matter of fact, my little niece, allegedly now, Mark Chambers, remember them big blue, he probably listened, remember them big blue Timberlands you used to wear and they come upstairs and you was knocked out? Mm-hmm. Yeah, but he's still that kind of big turkey. But anyway, I'm gonna push past that. You were talking about the governor's race and how this is political, and you're correct. You know it's political. Of course it's political. But you fail to acknowledge this with our people, that Tony Evers. Now, Tony Evers, and this is something that's gonna have to be cleaned up, signed a 400-year school board tax increase. So you understand, 400 years, me and you and our grandbabies won't even have no property in probably 15, 20 years, because the money hungry school board system. And if you're in a rural area and you out of 30 miles out of a school board zone, it doesn't even affect you. So in the major cities, and I want to know, why did this cracker use 400 years?
Why we gotta call him a cracker? Why we gotta do that? Why we gotta do that?
Okay, well, let's call the white man.
Thank you.
400 years. Why did he use 400 years? Do you understand the increase of the school board every year at the maximum rate will leave me and your great grandkids, not even great grandkids, just grandkids, not even a place to live.
So why did he do it? How did it come about?
Well, listen to this here. Because he feels that the school board keeps coming and to protect them, that they don't have to keep coming and asking. He would just put that in the thing.
No. He did that with the use. He did that with the use of his veto pen, because he was vetoing.
He did half of it.
He was vetoing some legislation that Republicans had tried to push through that dealt with school funding increases. So he didn't just wake up and decide, I'm gonna give this.
Did it.
Yeah, okay, but you gotta, like I tell you all the time, if you're gonna tell a story, tell all of the story.
But if I get that,
how did we get there?
The people won't. Hold on. If I get that deep in depth in it, I lose the people.
No, you won't.
No,
you won't. No, you won't.
Yes, you will.
Don't act like Tony Evers just woke up and said, "I'm gonna take my power as governor and create something that will give school funding increases for 400 years." He did it in response to something.
But listen, it doesn't make a difference. You know what that's going to do.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, are you really finna defend me and our grandbabies not being able to own a property maybe in 20 years because of the increase of the school board?
How is that going to stop you from owning a property? System? So you think in 20 years nobody's going to own property? Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not. Hey, listen, can we just have the conversation?
I'm trying.
You asked me a question and I answered to the best I could, and then you went into the diplomatic part of it.
Not diplomatic. I'm just saying, if you're going to tell a story, give people the story.
Well, because if
you want to start in the middle,
half of it, I would lose what I'm trying to do.
But you didn't lose.
To pour a quart inside of a quart inside of a pint bottle.
Not necessarily.
You only give me about 30 seconds.
You didn't have a whole bunch of time.
Okay, well, because you anyway, in 30 years, if the increase of the school board goes up, the city don't got to raise nothing, because there'll be no way that you will be able to afford it, especially if you own a fixed income or your job is not providing the come up fee for you to reach it. You lose.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna just say this. While I don't agree that he should have done something that commits us for 400 years.
You laughing about something that's serious?
Calm down, bro.
But you just
because all of this energy was nowhere to be found when Scott Walker and the Republicans cut millions of dollars from public education. I didn't hear you. I don't remember that call in. I don't
Can
remember
I say
it.
this to you?
Of course you can.
What I'm simply saying is this here. If we can stand up against Mark Chambers running his mouth, talking about the
that's
folks,
not what this
hold
is
on,
about.
18 years. And by the way,
That's
Mark
not what
Chambers
this is
don't know nothing
about.
about the case. I remember the case.
That's
Mark
not
Chambers
what this
was
is
probably
about.
a junior in high school.
Hey, okay,
something.
but we ain't talking about that. Let's stay
Okay,
on
but
Evers.
no. If
Did
we
you
can
call
come
in to
to-
raise hell about Scott Walker cutting millions and the Republicans cutting millions of dollars from public education? Did you call in to raise hell about that?
There's been hold on. Yeah, I probably did. I probably was on Eric Vaughn's show.
No, you wasn't.
And
You
making a bunch
wasn't.
of noise.
You wasn't.
Huh?
Somebody
No,
probably did.
I probably was because remember this. You try to tie me to one party. I'm against whoever doing us wrong. I told you about the little boy that was running Republican. Hold on, remember the little boy that was running Republican?
Wait. I gotta go because I got other
Why
callers.
you running?
I'm not running, bro. You done had
You
ample
not-
time. You're
you
now
know
on
what?
to a new
When
subject. You're now on to a new subject.
That property, if we don't repeal or get a governor in there to repeal
I
it on day
know.
one, because
And
you won't
your
have no
Republican
house.
Jesus is the answer. Thank you. I appreciate the call.
Come to
Jermaine,
Junior.
pay attention. Hang that call up. All right. So let me go to the next caller. Hey.
She said, pay attention.
The instigator has joined the room. Keith Paris, who I detest. He gets on my whole nerves. Let me go to the phone line. Hey, caller, what's happening?
Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning.
And I'm so glad you give everybody equal opportunity to show who they are.
Yes.
And number one, we've been done so wrong, so long. And every time it seems like someone black might get something, then someone black stands up against it. What's wrong with us? But moving on from that, what's puzzling me, and I hope everybody see this. Now, this is the second governor race that only one Republican is going to be running. And in another state, I have to find out from my friend what happened, because it was like 13 Democrats running, like some similar to what we have going on. Every successful business fire people every day because they're not doing their job. I don't hear anyone, white, black, or any other color, stand up and say, it's because of poor leadership. But as soon as we get someone African American in there, we have to be so dad blame perfect until it's pathetic. Well, I'm not holding him to that. And these other people that are running, are they even in the arena of where our county exec is? Are they running an organization equivalent to what he's doing, that they can make a decision that is poor leadership? You have a meeting with your people, your headlines that are in charge of departments, and make them aware. Do your job. Make sure your reportees are doing their job. And that's all he can do. And keep it in the public eye, correcting it. We can't afford to get another Trump, another Republican, because our democracy is on the line. This is no joke. It's serious business. And we better get our critical thinking hats on, listen to everybody. But when it comes to making your decision, you pray about it and keep it to yourself and get in there and pull that lever. Get out there and vote. Get up off that bed, because if you're going to lay there, you may not have that bed to lay in. Keep doing what you're doing. And you're going to have people saying, yeah, Michelle. Oh, well, Michelle, maybe you shouldn't have did that one. But still keep doing what you're doing. Call it shining the light on things that are not right. Thank you so much, and God bless you all.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, and I appreciate your call. Let me just make this quick announcement. Received word. We had been watching to see whether or not the 10-year-old child who had killed his mother. Remember, this was over, I think it was a video game. And there was an effort to waive him into adult court. He committed the murder when he was 10 years old. Even though nobody agrees with murder, I don't know how anybody agreed that a 10-year-old child should be waived into adult court. So there has been a decision that has been rendered by the Wisconsin Court of Appeals that has ruled that this child will not be tried in adult court. And shame on the folks in Milwaukee who thought that they should pursue charging him as an adult. Just nonsense. At 10 years old, you not, whatever's going wrong with this kid and his life, you do not have the mental capacity to appreciate what's going on right now. And I just think it's disgusting that this was even a conversation. It should have never even been a conversation. He was 10.
We had callers who
Go ahead.
We had callers who
agreed with
who
it.
agreed with
Yeah.
it.
And the callers was wrong. He was 10. I talk about this stuff all the time. At 20, you can't go in Potawatomi and gamble because you don't have the mental capacity, according to all the research, to be able to do that. You can't drive a car till you're 16. So at 10, I expect you to be a little adult and know all the right and wrong. Come on, y'all. But anyway, let me say hey to Keith. I appreciate you this weekend coming out to support me. I was at the Indaba Ball, African Ball, and you and lovely Rhonda, who's looking a little spicy in her little dress. Just, I said, oh, he looking like the proud husband today. That's me. You see her. I mean, she wasn't quite Jamal Bryant's wife. You know, she didn't go all in.
But she had the dress. She had the dress.
We didn't have to defend her to nobody.
Yeah,
but
I'm glad we didn't put it on Facebook.
He was looking very proud that
going like, what's the fourth lady wearing? What's the fourth lady wearing?
But I want to thank all the folks that came out that supported me in getting an award. I was joined in getting an award by Earl Ingram. He received an award as well from the good folks over at St. Anne's. And I just want to say thank you to Gloria Miller and her team. The band was amazing. And Mr. Paris, you was dapper in your Kente cloth jacket and black turtleneck. Looks smooth. What's all of that? What is all this cheesing for, man?
Because when we left the house, Rhonda said, well, we can't take pictures together because we clashing. I mean, that was a beautiful dress you had on.
That I had on?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
That was so. It was red, but that was. I didn't want to tell you because
I was gonna say you ain't say nothing on the night
out. A little salty.
Such a hater. You are such a hater. He did not say one time, "Oh, Michelle, you look all right." He didn't say nothing.
I looked like most of even like I was in a hostage bag.
yeah, because you know what? We're not gonna do it. We ain't gonna say why.
But you say I don't love her. Oh Lord!
Look, after you get done telling me I better be at church on Sunday for your little service.
Yeah. Oh,
wait. Has anyone, and Lakeisha pointed this out to me last night, I had not seen it. If you have not gone on Michelle Pitt's page, Facebook page, to see what they did at Jerusalem Church for Black History Month.
Okay.
They created a whole museum.
Okay.
They brought in Mario Dickens. It is the most beautiful displays. It is museum quality work. Oh, put them on. Good morning. I understand we have Alderman Mark Chambers on the line.
Absolutely. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you this morning, sir?
I'm doing good. I've received many calls about some words that was said, and I think there's some clarity that need to be addressed.
Okay, so make sure that we're on the same page. So I'm referencing the $7 million payout to the brother who said that he had been wrongfully convicted and actually set up, and your comments that the payment was bullshit.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
And,
what's the conversation?
So context wasn't about whether he was framed or anything about that. It was the fact that we had to settle for something based off of the city attorney's mishap, the former city attorney's mishap, and his former deputy.
But before we get to, hang on, because before we get to the city attorney's mishap, if the police had never wrongfully arrested the man in the first place, we would have never even got to the city attorney.
But that's not why the case was brought back up.
I get why the case was brought back.
But the case you brought back up for the case was brought back for mistrial.
I get
because of the extra shackles. So if we're going to talk about context,
I mentioned all three of those things. I mentioned all three of the things that he brought up that he was able to get the case brought back for. But it does not negate the fact that had the Milwaukee Police Department not framed him in the first place, we wouldn't be here.
I completely agree with you on that, and that wasn't my case. I don't like the letter that was sent from MPA to City Attorney Goitis neither, and I did not like that he referenced not only this case, but the other case that you brought up as well, that I strongly advocated that we settled, and that we settled for a pretty handsome amount because that particular family that you brought up deserved every bit of it because there was no reason why that young man should have been apprehended at all.
Okay, and I'm aware.
I was one of the only person, and I was one of the strongest voices.
And I'm aware of that.
Done.
And I am definitely aware of that. But I definitely want to go back to this case in which you stand up to be outraged that the city is going to pay money. Well, and even if it wasn't the technicality, if we all can acknowledge that the man was framed in the get-go, why are we upset that he being paid? He spent 18 years in prison. And you said it was bullshit. But he spent 18 years in prison, and y'all know the Milwaukee police officers framed him. So how do you stand up and say that's bullshit?
Well, I stand on what I said.
Why did you say that, though?
Because we have to settle for something. We have to settle for something based off the incompetence of one city
You have
attorney.
to settle for something based off the misbehavior of the Milwaukee Police Department that put that whole thing in motion.
And I understand that completely. I'm not disputing you on that at all. But I stand on what I said because at the end of the day.
So would you have rather this man have been paid nothing for being in jail for 18 years?
A jury of his peers. I don't know the ins and outs of that case because that case just came to us within that year. As far as the settlement, that case.
Hello? Alderman Chambers? I'm sorry, the call went out. Say whatever you said again because we missed it.
Okay, I said that the case came to us within the year that we settled. So I think we settled last year on that.
Yes, you did.
My frustration came out was because that without getting inside baseball, we missed deadlines because the jury of his peers. Now, whether I agree or disagree is none the fact that a jury his peers convicted him. I'm not disputing the fact that he was framed or anything because I think the stuff is too circumstantial. However, the fact of the matter lies back in 2004, a jury convicted him, a judge sentenced him. And then not the fact that he was not, the conviction was not overturned on any of that. The conviction was overturned due to him having extra shackles shown at the sentencing. So we have to stick to that. I can't use when I make my judgment, I cannot use any of the stuff that happened leading up to his conviction. I can only use what's the fact that was in front of us. And
even the city decided not to bring charges against the guy again. Because everybody knew they was wrong.
District Attorney John Chisholm made that decision not to bring charges, not the city.
My bad. I stand corrected. All I know is that there was a decision made not to bring those charges back again.
Good, right. So, but again, The cause for the overturn wasn't because of any police misconduct. It wasn't because of any framing or anything of that nature. The notes it's a public record. You can reach out to City Attorney Gorky to get them.
No.
But the reason why it was overturned,
I understand that, and I said that already. I said that.
But that's why. But that's what.
But that still does not negate the fact that we knew something was done improperly, and it was done at the hands of the Milwaukee Police Department. And so even though this is a technicality that gets this brought back around, somewhere in the back of my head, I'm still going, this brother had no business being caught up here in the first place.
And you know what? You can stand on what you're saying. I understand that. I'm not challenging that at all. What I'm saying is when I have to make a decision on that committee, just like any other decisions, I have to use the facts that whatever hand and whether they're right or wrong. Now, don't get me wrong. Now, if we catch it early on, like the other case that we was advocating for, that I wanted to get it done and over with because they don't know the impacts of what that can do to a young brother or a young sister, whoever is in front of us. We want to nip that in the bud because we were wrong. We was 100% wrong in the other case, and I'm going back to the Wilbur case, but I only can use the facts that are in front of me. So when I say the word BS, which I stand on, I think it's BS that this came back in front of us in a time where we are facing $100 million deficit.
But so let me ask this question. If everybody knows you're not supposed to have a person shackled in front of the jury and they made a decision to do it anyway, technicality or not, right is right and wrong was wrong. They didn't say this was not something that anybody made up. This is a false premise. The rights were violated.
But the city is paying for a county judge's decision. That's where it's getting wrong at. But the city is paying for a county judge, not a city judge.
But who brings those cases though? It's a partnership. So we can't be partners when they bring in the cases for us and not want to be partners when they make a mistake. And that's what you was doing. We can be partners when they bring our cases, but if they make a mistake, then we ain't got nothing to do with it and we want to stand back and throw our hands up in the air. That's not how this works.
Now, I completely agree with you on that one, but in that situation, it was very frustrating that we sitting here talking about a $7 million settlement.
But if you agree, then how do you disagree that y'all had to pay for it because y'all partners with the county on this? And the county was acting on y'all behalf.
And because the city is paying, because the city, and in our eyes, based off the fact that we can go off of, the city was found at no fault.
Okay, so look, I'm up
That's
against
what I'm saying. I'm going off. It could be an agree to disagree moment, but I definitely want to provide context on why I said what I said.
No problem. And I don't have any problem with it. And that's why I was glad when I heard that you were on the call. I'm always open to the discussion 100%. Unfortunately, right now I'm 4 minutes up against the clock. But I appreciate you calling in. Adding the perspective. If you want to revisit this again, we can down the road because I strongly disagree, but I respect the fact that the phone call was made.
Absolutely. And, I know you got to get off, but Brother Meeks, he's a lost soul. And, anyone else who, feels something else, they can always reach out to me and talk to me. I'm always available for a conversation. Thank you for taking it.
All right, thank you, and thank you. Oh, but the one thing I meant to say too, and I forgot it, is that he called a judge incompetent. I was just like, bruh, it just was crazy because he called a judge incompetent. All right. With that being said, that's the show for the day. Tomorrow I gotta talk about the Super Bowl commercials that featured the Jeffrey Epstein survivors. I don't know if any of y'all got a chance to see that. Thank you to everybody that made the show go. Thank you for whoever called Mark Alderman Chambers, the flag for him that the conversation was being had. We will do what we do. We're gonna get to the bottom of it. With that being said, family, I appreciate y'all. I can't wait to hear Keith's show. And I will talk to y'all tomorrow. Peace.